Hello, everybody, and welcome to our inaugural episode of our new podcast, The Virtual Boot Room. This will be your weekly source of all things Football Manager, and I am here with Paul. How are you doing today, sir?
I am good. Excited to get the VBR going, the Virtual Boot Room.
Absolutely. I think this has been a lot of work in prep here, but it's nice to get back and rolling, back into the podcasting universe, and back talking about the thing we love to talk about the most, Football Manager. So we'll start off, give you a quick little bit here. So what are we and when are you going to see us? So this is your new weekly destination. So expect to see a new podcast out every Monday. Hour may vary a little bit based on, when we can get things set and whatnot, but expect to see us every Monday from here until, forever. Because we're just, that kind of sticks with you on that. So are you excited to be back in action and talking Football Manager, Paul?
I am. It's about time we got back into it. It's been a long time since we sat down and discussed what we're doing in Football Manager. And you're right, we are going to be sticking around pretty much until Sports Interactive tell us, look, we've stopped making the game. We don't even deal with the game anymore. So please stop tweeting us about your new podcasts. So. Until then, we are in your ears. We live on a Monday, like Colin said, but don't worry, if you're listening on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, we still sound exactly the same. It's just a bit creepy that we keep saying Monday to you.
Yeah, we like to do that every once in a while. Just make sure that you're paying attention to us as we chat in your ear. So let's talk about the thing we're here to talk about. Football Manager and Football Manager 2017. So we are nearing the end of the beta cycle for Football Manager 2017. I believe the full game is destined for launch, should be this coming Friday, the 4th, if memory serves me correct. So, early impressions. What do you think? What are your thoughts, Paul? And then I will give you what I think about FM17.
I think so far, playing the beta, I'm relatively happy, I would say. I think you've still got the issues in terms of the match engine at times, but is that really ever going to get ironed out unless they go off and spend multi-millions on fixing it? I don't know. I mean, my knowledge isn't the greatest. I mean, when you graphically, aesthetically, when you hold the likes of Football Manager to other games, you can see the big difference. But then you would kind of think, okay, they've put more focus into the actual match engine. But then when you see some of the goals you concede at times, you kind of think, okay, so what have they put the effort into? But I think a game as a whole, I'm happy because every year they improve it. Now, have they improved it as dramatically as when they moved the menu to the sidebar, for example, years ago? No. Have they improved it in many, many areas? I would say no, but what they have done is they fine-tuned the bits that they had good from last year and made them better. The interaction in the inbox screen being one of the main things, which I think is such a great feature. The little additions to Prozone, or stats as it's called this year, which I hate. I mean, I understand there's obviously going to have been some sort of reasoning behind it, but I much preferred Prozone. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an improved version, Colin. But I mean, I've been playing the game for 20 years now, since 96, 97 version. So I mean, I always think each year they do improve. They've never released a game which you've thought, oh, the old one was so much better. Maybe the old one had something which the new one didn't in terms of a bug in the new game, but that doesn't mean the overall game was better or worse. I think each year they improve. So yeah, I mean, so far so good, I would say, Colin.
Yeah, I'd have to say, so I will fully admit I was a bit skeptical coming in based on sort of the lack of information and sort of the whole rollout. So I was
just a bit. One of the reasons we delayed the podcast was if this podcast happened a few weeks ago, it would have been just us sulking about the lack of information.
Yes, it definitely, it very much so would have been a lot of a lot of grumping on our part. Um, so I was a little tentative coming into it, but I said, you know what, um, let's do it, let's see it. Um, and I'd have to say the fixing in the fixes in the match engine I've been the most happy with. Um, the rest of the cleanups and reskinning and the social feed and that kind of stuff, that's not stuff that ever really gets me about the game. It's nothing that I would say ever. I've never bought and played Football Manager because it's got an awesome inbox or news feed. Um, so the match engine's really all what I'm interested in. I think um, they glossed over a little bit in a lot of the launch stuff where they said, "Hey, we've doubled the rate at which decisions are made in the engine." Basically making the loop, my interpretation of the game loop twice as fast. And I was interested to see what it looked like, and I have to say I've been pretty impressed so far. That you can clearly tell that there's more, players react faster. There's more thinking. There's more diversity into what's going on. They're choosing different options that in the last bunch of FMs. So I'll admit I've only been playing since 12. But in prior years, I've never seen them. You'll get wingers that will always take weird short angle shots that are squaring passes now. So I think that those little fixes in the match engine have been absolutely superb in it. So overall, I think I would say this is a much more polished version of FM16. I don't think it's not as big a leap forward with new features and things like that last year was to me. But I think it's a solid product, and they fixed some of some of the weird behaviors that I think a lot of people talked about. And if you spend any time watching on watching YouTube or listening to podcasts on Football Manager in the last cycle, you would have heard lots and lots of complaints about. Seems to have gotten much better. So overall, I'm relatively pleased with where things are at. I'm looking forward to the launch of the full game, sort of opening up with once the editor comes and people can start opening up databases and things like that. That's always fun for some offline saves going, doing the San Marinos or Gibraltars or going to play I always like when the CONCACAF leagues come out, going to play in like Costa Rica and places like that. So it'll be nice when that stuff opens up. My guess is by the end of the weekend, that'll be all over the place, which will be nice there.
I think it's something to look forward to. Definitely the additions into the game in terms of databases.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have been sort of up in arms in places that some of the licenses have changed and things have come and gone and things like that. But I think that's something you have to expect with a game like this, is that you're never going to hold on to all the licenses that you want to hold on to. And in the beta phase of this stuff, you're going to have to wait because nobody wants to spend a lot of time for 2 weeks to find out that they changed some stuff and it didn't work again. You got to go back and do it again. So I suspect the game will get back to the level that we all sort of know and love, with face packs and graphic packs and league fixes and expanded databases and all that stuff over the weekend, which like I said, I'm always excited about. It gives me good options for sort of offline stuff, which I like.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's something to look forward to. One thing I did notice, obviously one of the big talking points leading up to FM17, Colin, was the lack of promotion in terms of they were very quiet. And obviously a lot of this now, since beta release, Colin, we've been kind of thinking, have they been quiet because they knew they didn't have that much coming to this version and they didn't really want to say our big new feature is a Twitter feed. Now, one thing I thought was the event that they did where they did live on Facebook. I thought it was a fantastic event. I really did like how they thought, let's invite a lot of the people down there. And I know the likes of Golden FM went to the event and they kind of just announced stuff there, and then they released a video for you to watch, and it was all live on Facebook. I actually thought they missed out in terms of promotion when they were talking about the inbox and all the additions on it. I mean, I would say that's one of the biggest steps forward. The fact they've linked a lot of the stuff into there, Colin.
Yeah, I'd have to say that they certainly made the inbox interaction a lot nicer. It's cleaner. I can find a lot more stuff that I want. Especially when it comes to like training, some of the recruitments, dealing with your backroom staff, and getting all that kind of stuff, better organized. It's cleaner and easier. You get better reports for that kind of stuff. So I think they've done a nice job with that. I would agree. I think they undersold some of the features of the game. I think, or underplayed them as they sort of went into the whole rollout of it, which I think did a little bit of a community-wide sort of disservice because it built a lot of unnecessary angst over the game. I think if you watch the Twitter feeds and there's a bunch of YouTube thoughts and things like that were sort of out there, where a lot of people, I think everybody had sort of a very common reaction closing out 16, waiting for 17 was, what's going on? Where is it at? What are we expecting? We're used to a lot more information flow coming from SI. We're not getting any. This doesn't make any sense. Is this going to be a bum iteration? Are they writing this off? Is the game going to be unimpressive? And I think they did sort of a disservice, is that there are some fairly neat and useful tweaks and additions and consolidations and cleanups that they made that I think would have served them better to go out and say, hey, we've fixed where you're looking at player development. We've shown you more of their pros and cons, and we've cleaned up, positions so you can see a lot more of the player, so you don't have to go clicking through multiple screens to see what's going on, or where you're getting training, more detailed training reports of things. The pre-match screen, the way that they reorganize the pre-match, and you get comparisons, and you can see better about where the opposition has been playing and attacking, and you can kind of fix and adjust what you've been doing is really nice, and they've done a really nice job of cleaning some of that stuff up. So hopefully they learn a little something, and next year gets to be a better sort of rollout as they get things sort of worked into the next iteration.
Yeah, I think when people start to worry there's not even going to be an FM17 because it's so quiet, that's when you kind of think, yeah, you've kind of messed up in terms of promotion on this one. One thing I want to talk about, it's in terms of promotion, one of the ways to promote is Twitter, and one of the things added into the game is the social feed, which is basically a tweet deck. I mean, there's a lot of hashtagging on it. I mean, I'm looking at it now on my screen, and you've got like stuff like the Ladbrokes League 2 official Twitter account in the Scottish leagues is congratulating somebody on getting manager of the month, and you have hashtag Kelly, hashtag Forfar, hashtag Chapman. I think the Chapman is rubbing it into the second place person. Now, I've seen people saying, can you turn this off? I don't want to see a Twitter field. I don't want to see social media. I don't want to see the interviews. It's the same questions week in, week out. I don't want to see it. I want to turn it off. Now, as this podcast develops, people will know that I will say what I think. And I think a lot of people don't seem to understand what the world of a manager is about, because you have to do all of these things. And you have to deal with it all. You have to deal with the public. You have to deal with social media abuse. Social media interacts with the club. The club interacts with social media. It happens in real life. People say, oh, well, I just want to manage the football club. Well, that's what you're doing. I mean, managing Bjerkreim, I get the local newspaper ask me questions every couple of weeks, Colin. They'll turn up at a match or training, and they'll ask me questions, and it's the same questions every single week. How do you think your team's going to do? How did they do last game? How are the players looking? That's literally the same discussion every single week, and then they go away and they write something completely different to what I told them, and they make me look like a beep. So it happens in real life too. Trust me, people. It does. I mean, what's your thoughts on social media? I mean, I like it as a part of the game because at the end of the day, it's part of the real world.
So I'll answer in reverse. The press conference thing has never really bothered me. Yeah, it feels a little formulaic after a while. But if you look, I agree. If you look in the world of management, a lot of them are kind of formulaic. And, how do you think you're going to do? How do you respond to this? This guy grumped about this. What do you think about it? Um, so I don't mind it. I understand that it's a part of the gig, right? It's all a part of the deal, and you have to deal with it. My only real complaint with the social media feed that's in the game right now, I don't pay a lot of attention to it. It's highly repetitive, um, to me. And yeah, okay, I understand you're only going to be able to code so much stuff in it, but um, like after every single one of the games, I see the same three notes that come out. Hey, we were really good today. We were top of the league. This is awesome. I'm starting to hope. We weren't that good today. This is, wait, let it go. And, oh, isn't it great to be a fan of the club? And you see like those same three messages over and
Yeah.
over and over again. So if there was a little more diversity to it, and the other piece that sort of bugs me a little bit in the sense is it's not clear. Like, I would agree with you, right? If it was a piece of the game, almost like the press conference, where you had to interact a little bit with it in the same sort of way you do with a press conference, and there could be some impact to it, right? Either supporters love you because you respond to it, or you just ignore it and they get annoyed with you. It has an impact on your players. It has some impact on the opposition. It improves your reputation or decreases your reputation, something like that. It would make more sense in the whole context of the game. I think as a sort of standalone thing that it just snaps me to every time I hit continue, that I have to read the same 3 or 4 lines to, it's not really doing a whole lot for me
I
on that.
definitely agree. I think it should be linked up. It, the board should be in your board conference. It should be saying you've reacted badly. You handled your press conference wrong. The social media, the fans are not happy with you. It's affecting your position at the club because you're putting the club in a bad light, or you're putting the club in a good light. We're delighted with how you handle the club publicly. It should affect the game, I think. But I can see that coming in FM18 or FM19 because it's the first year of adding the feature. They kind of no doubt want it to settle a little bit, see how it works. Then next year they improve it a little bit, and then the year after a bit more. And I do hope it comes in and has an effect because, I mean, for example, the chairman of Bieram, he always says to me, oh, what was the discussion with the media? Because I've had the newspapers report that I've said a player's going to be dropped, where I've not even mentioned the player in the interview. And I mean, I think I was talking to somebody on Twitter about this. Because I'm always open, I'm happy to talk about exactly what's happening with Bieram. And I said I don't really deal with the local newspaper now because they basically just make stuff up. But that's football.
Sure.
They're looking for a story, and me telling them that the team's training well and we look like we're going to pick up some points in the next match. They're not interested in that. They're interested in me stirring the pot, it seems. So it happens. I want that in Football Manager. I want it to be as realistic as possible. I know, for example, Golden FM is the complete opposite of me, where he wants a bit more of a game element and not so much realism. But I mean, I play this game because it's realistic. If I wanted a game element, I'd go and play FIFA career mode. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just not as realistic.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me the attractiveness of it is, is your ability to get the side out there and perform. And I think, as true to life, right? The media and the public and the publicity side of it does have an impact on that, right? If you stand there and the news articles, if you're harping about how awful and crappy everything is, yeah, everything's going to turn south on you. And if you're talking things that are positive and things aren't really going so well, then you may get one of those like, hey, your head's in the clouds. You really know what the hell's actually going on. So I think it does add an appropriate element to the game. At least the press conference side, I can see, and I agree. I think the social media thing will take a couple of cycles to really kind of get in and find its niche. So I treat this as sort of like, hey, we're putting it out here and we're going to see what people say or don't say or like or don't like about it. And that's fine. I understand that's a part of product development. So I think it, to me, it needs a better connection. I can see that, yeah, it's a real part of life that you have to sort of deal with. It just needs a connection to something. To me, it's just sort of this weird loose end that is an annoying screen that I flash to. But that's okay, right? I mean, as long as something happens with it, if it's perennially this irritating screen that I get flashed to, okay, then I'll be a little less positive about the whole experience.
I think one of the things I would like as well when you're talking about connection is in match situations where you have your team talk.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say concentrate or get creative. I think that should have an impact on the end of the game in terms of if I aggressively tell my team to push forward and we still lose the game, after the match the interview questions should be about my aggressive nature, which did not help the game. But to kind of make it as if the media were at the match and the media saw your reactions on the pitch. Like after, for example, in a match in real life which just happened, Man United drew with Burnley. And the questions afterwards were, Mourinho got angry with the officials, how's he feeling now? Do you know what I mean? That's a way that they can improve the media, the press conferences, by linking it to your responses into it. They don't even need loads of answers. You can have, if you click on calm, if you click on aggressive, it has a select 5 answers for the post game interview.
Yeah,
and it's just them little things which you kind of hope they've already got in the planning, because to me it's kind of just an obvious way to take these.
Yeah, I mean, and I would agree that there's a certain level where that would make a lot of sense and be appropriate, that I would see, right? At a Man United, if you're in a top division, maybe a second division in a major country, yeah, you would expect media, be it TV, radio, or print, to be at the game, and if something happens like that, you would expect to have questions about it in there. At a lower level, yeah, maybe not. You may not expect to have the same sort of thing, so you may not get asked about that just because nobody was there, or unless people were talking about it. But no, but in principle, well, I mean, if you're playing in like the 48th tier of English English football, there, I wouldn't anticipate that you're going to have 12 newspaper reporters at the game. If you had 12 people at the game, it would be a good deal. But no, I understand where you're kind of getting at. I think there needs to be some. If you want to make that interaction work better, there needs to be some interactivity with how you're approaching the game to it, so that there is some context for those questions, that it's not just the same sort of bloat, or blank sort of reply, that there is some connection, right? If you're standing there and you're hyper aggressive and somebody's going to ask, gee, you're not getting anywhere with this and all you do is yell at everybody, maybe you should, have you ever thought about changing your tactic? And you can keep yelling at the guy and everybody feels good. Or getting some contextual questions about your approach and behavior as you click through the game on some of those things, I think would add a different element to it. And it would be interesting to see how it connects, right?
Yeah,
if you're constantly aggressive, does it have, if you have certain player types in your team that don't respond well to it, do they start ticking off? Do you have squad harmony problems and things like that? Which would be real life, right? I mean, that's people in teams and and groups of people trying to get stuff done. If you've got somebody out there that's off or has wonky leadership styles, not everybody responds to that kind of stuff, and you get a different dynamic. And I understand it can be difficult to model per se in the game, but it's those kind of things that I think would go a long way to making it more interesting.
Definitely, I think it's something which I know. The discussion's always been, well, they can't have that many media responses because it means it's more stuff to code in again and again and again. But then, as I said, if you had 5 for calm, 5 for passionate, 5, instead of the same 5 every time, just have different ones for different moods. And then when people come out and say, oh, it's the same answers all the time, well, change your attitude within the game.
Yeah, or if you find if you find a style and an attitude that works, okay, fine. Recognize that things are going to be sort of calm. But I mean, think about it in real life, right? Okay, so lots of people talk about
Mourinho press conferences or Pep press conferences. How many people talk about, at least that I recall, how many people are talking about like Carlo Ancelotti press conferences, or how many times have you heard people talking about a Ronald Koeman press conference or a Frank de Boer?
Tony
Okay,
Pulis, come on, throw it out
yeah,
there.
go for it, Tony Pulis. That there are some people that the press conference is just a routine thing. Like, you have to do it because the contracts, the clubs, the agreements all say you got to go and do it. It's the same 5 answers and nobody says anything terribly interesting, and you just all move on, right? Like, that kind of thing happens in real life too.
But then do you not think then in Football Manager the option of sending your assistant should be disabled? Because in real life, if you send your assistant, quite often you'll get punished for that. Because
I think
at the end of the day, I mean, people who play Football Manager are quite happy to play the game and buy them players for multi-millions if you're managing in the Premier League, and quite happy to say, oh my god, I just got 90 million TV money. You get that TV money because you take the press conferences afterwards. You get that TV money because you do that. So why are you then kind of skipping a whole aspect of the game type thing?
I would be okay. I mean, I would be completely okay if they tweaked it up so that every time you click that send assistant, you got a fine in those top leagues.
Yeah.
And I can understand some people will be grumpy about that kind of a feature and wouldn't like it, but okay, I agree. There is a certain obligation when somebody's cutting you that kind of a check that you need to deal with. And some people will be perfectly happy to just send the assistant and eat the fine every time and just move on. Okay, fine, your call, you do it. But I would be okay if they tweak the game like that.
Then I think we've got to ask people then. Our first interaction, Colin.
Yes.
Let's link with our listeners. Let's link with my girlfriend and your girlfriend who are listening.
I think you're giving us a lot of credit out of the gate here.
Yeah, I don't know how far in are we now. Let's check this. We are 26 minutes in. If my girlfriend was still listening at this point, I'd be really impressed. But if she is, and to anybody else who's tuned in, what do you think of it? Would you like the feature? Do you want it to push the boundaries of realism, or do you want it to have that game aspect still? The cheats, the send assistant, the I don't know, other aspects which you kind of bypass, which in real life you can't bypass. You can't just jump past it. I'd love to know what you guys think of that, but I think we'll move on to current sales in terms of what have we done for beta, what have we done to start Football Manager 2017, Colin? Do you want to tell people what you've been up to?
Well, you can see what I've been up to if you go on YouTube.
Plug-in.
Absolutely. Shameless plug. Watch out. Shameless plug coming. If you go and check out the FM Central YouTube site, you can see what I'm doing. So I am right now playing in the 2nd division in France with Le Havre AC. They are an old club in French football. They are the first non-Parisian winners of French football. They were founded by the English, which is where their colors come from. They are the Oxford and Cambridge colors, which is why they are the sea and the sky, or the sky and the sea, in their name. So I am managing them. What attracted me to them? They have perhaps one of the most famous youth academies in world football. Some names that you may recognize that have come from their youth development system. Dimitri Payet, Riyad Mahrez has come through there, and most famously at this point would be Paul Pogba has come out, as well as hosts of other players. This has been a strong academy for a lot of years. They're currently consulting with Major League Soccer in the U.S. to improve U.S. youth development as well. So the whole youth development and getting young players in and developing them and having them reach their potential was really attractive. It's not a save type I've ever done before in FM, so I thought I would do that. And as folks who've listened to prior podcasts and anytime I've talked, I do happen to like French football and the French leagues. I'm definitely one that doesn't like PSG and the dominance that they've had. But I do enjoy French football, so this was also, I thought, a good opportunity to start at a decent level, get up into the top flight, help people learn a little bit more about the French leagues and get some exposure to France and French football, and high power, develop some high powered youth, and perhaps win some trophies along the way.
That's always a nice way to end. Win some trophies.
Well, you got to get something out of the experience. It's, as I say, they're not paying me to look good on the sideline, because I'd have been fired quite some time ago. I think so far it's been enjoyable. So I started this in beta because it's just a natural part of the game. So we'll just roll right into FM17 with it. So I won't have a separate beta versus full game save. So we'll just keep rolling with this. I think I talked a little in the intro. My thought was potentially stopping around, either Champions League or a Club World Cup. I'm not 100% sure. I think we'll see a little bit as we get deeper into it. I'd like to first go after, PSG and win some League One titles and see where we go from there.
Fantastic.
So
hopefully it goes well. And what days is that released on FM Central's YouTube channel?
So you can find it on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I set it live at noon East in the U.S., which should be 5 hours different to the UK, 6 hours to Europe, at least starting next week once we resync all of our daylight savings times.
So that's 5 p.m. UK time.
Yep, should be 5 p.m. UK, 6 p.m. European standard on that.
Perfect.
You can find it 3 days a week. So little easier on me to keep recording with it. So hopefully I don't get quite so raced trying to create episodes, and I can keep a nice, good, smooth pace. So far it's working really, really well.
Fantastic. Nice to hear, and definitely one that I'm enjoying. And as I said to you, I did not know it was only 3 days a week, so I've been pestering your weekend asking where the videos are. So
coming on Monday.
Now I know to wait for tomorrow. But yeah, I think beta for myself, I've tried to go steady, but still releasing content on my channel. The Northman, you can find it on YouTube. So I did a beta series with Nottingham Forest. I picked them basically because I looked at the Championship. I wanted to do the Championship because I just can't settle with Premier League saves for beta. I want to do it in England because I did. Pretty simple.
Fair enough.
And I picked Nottingham Forest because I have no affiliation to them. I have no interest in them, but I have no reason to have any hate towards them. So I thought, well, alright, there's going to be nothing kind of swaying anything going into the save. So I did a series of them. I did eight episodes. That's finished now. I think it was 8 or 9, something like that. Brilliant. It's a good start.
I remember seeing as far as 8. Could be 9.
I think it might be 9. But it went alright. I didn't reach the playoffs. There was a few ups and downs, but it was nice. It was a good way to kind of learn the match engine for the new Football Manager. I'm now doing a save currently, which is going to be on blogged. So that is going to be on a blog site, which we'll be announcing in the next few weeks, hopefully, Colin.
Absolutely. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. Something new and exciting. Get people wondering. It's not called the Virtual Boot Room.
No, it is not.
But starting on the 4th, I've got a YouTube series with Darlington, the town I used to live in before I left the UK. So excited to get that going. I've had a lot of planning on it, a lot of thought going into it. So a lot of people who know me will know that I'm in Football Manager as a manager, so I'm going in with the region name from FM16, Bram Ellison, the hero of my FM16 series. So I'm excited about that. I've got a lot of guides on my channel, which I've been releasing in the last couple of weeks, like Wonder Kids to sign, etc. And coming in the next few days, there's some more stuff, Colin, which has already been recorded yesterday.
Ooh.
So I'm excited to release that. We've got a guide on how to find the best regions and Wonder Kids, and also my personal choice for starting 11 of free transfers available.
Ooh, nice.
So hopefully people enjoy that. Like I say, they might be live by the time you're listening, as obviously some of you guys are listening in the future. It's spooky. But yeah.
So you're looking forward. So you're looking forward to jumping back into lower league management and kind of getting back into sort of the lower tiers of the footballing pyramids.
Do you know what? I'm so psyched for it, because one thing about Nottingham Forest was it bored the living daylights out of me. And do you know what? I tried to make the series enjoyable in terms of I did get into it, but deep down there was no sense of achievement starting so high up, and that's just my own personal enjoyment of the game. I mean, my blogging series is with Edinburgh City. And the squad is so dire, it's ridiculous. Even to other clubs in my division, I scouted near enough every player in the division looking for signings for the end of season 1, and nearly 99% of them are all better than the quality I've got. They are all like 5-star. They're all like, oh, this guy would be a key player in your squad. Well, obviously, my gran would be a key player in my squad. So it's nothing to be proud of saying he's a key player in my squad. If anything, it's just like, well done, good job.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little bit of a different twist. So I had the same piece. Last year we both started, well down in the English pyramid in our climbs to get to the top. But I started to really, and I'm sort of a little upset that I didn't get as far in the in the YouTube piece with the save. I may make some of the episodes and just finish it out and upload them just to close out what I was doing with Truro. But I thought I really started to like when I got a little bit higher and I had a little bit more money for a little bit more talent to try some different things tactically and to start really playing around a little bit. So in this case, I said, you know what, let me start a little bit higher when I was looking for a club and trying to think of a thing to do. I said, let me start a little bit higher so I can get to the top flight a little quicker and maybe explore an entirely different aspect of the game. And I think in this sense, youth and hunting for potential and seeing if we can develop it and kind of growing and sustaining that sort of potential into the club is a really interesting idea. So it's a little different twist, but normally I agree. I prefer a little bit lower and trying to build and get some momentum and start getting some continual achievement out of things. But I'm curious to see a different side this year and spending a little more time, hopefully in the top flight and really starting to get into continental competition. I got in a little bit in a save I was blogging about last year with Ross County when I tripped into. I tripped. It was a weird clawed and sort of got lucky and got into the Europa League, and that was really the first time I had ever gotten in and managed, continental competition for with a club that I was really, that I'd spent some time with and was growing and getting some players in and out and things like that. It was interesting. It changed a lot of how I thought about squad building and depth and things like that. So now I want to try and spend more time in that aspect of things. So I think that this save this year will let me get there faster to try and tackle that earlier.
I think without doubt, it's definitely something that this year again for myself I really want to pursue the European football. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people detest the way that I play, and I would say detest, judging by some of the comments I got on YouTube.
Harsh.
Well, it's fine. It's water off a duck's back. If it's constructive criticism, you take it. If it's just abuse, you just ignore it. It doesn't do any harm, and it lets them feel good about themselves for a couple of minutes, doesn't it? But it's like, I would much rather spend an extra 2 seasons in the division and have developed somebody through my own academy than spend the money to bring a player in. And it's just the way I like to play. Me and you've discussed this for hours upon ends about the way our styles are.
Sure.
And I mean, we have that situation with James Reed in the last Football Manager, which was a player who was with me from the Conference North. He was with me for, I think, 18 years as a player. Then he was my under-21 manager for 6 years or something before I finished the series. And you detested this guy.
It was not my favorite player you've ever hired.
No, you abused him daily. But he had over 80% every single season for passing, tackling and heading. He did a job and he did it well, but he statistically was dreadful. And you kept telling me upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. But I kept saying, well, this guy's come through and it's loyalty. And yes, I was too loyal and I'm going to learn from that. For the new FM, there is a limit. And I definitely pushed it.
My pushback would be which one of us got to the Premier League.
Exactly. But I have got to come back on that. Being fan-owned quite possibly is one of the hardest things possible. And let me go through this. So, being in non-league, we were financially sound. We were making money and it was all nice. As soon as we went in League 2, we actually started losing money. And when we went into the League 1, you get among some more bigger boys. Then we went into the Championship. We were still getting around 150k a season from memberships, for fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then we were paying them a couple of million, which never quite made sense. We were getting no real income because the club wasn't taking on new sponsorship because as a fan-owned club they didn't want to. So I was finding out, I mean, you know yourself, I spoke enough about the save. I was constantly selling my best players and I kind of held on to a group who had been with me for 10, 15 years. But the bigger talent who you guys are screaming for me to bring in were leaving 1 or 2 years later because I financially couldn't afford to keep them. I was selling 15, 20 million pounds worth of players a season and still ending every year in the red. And it was just, as you said to me, you said it was right. That one extra promotion to the Premier League would have totally changed that. Because the TV money alone would have financially made me secure.
And that was, the two things I learned out of the whole experience were, at some point you got to go into the loan system. So if for people who are playing in England, once you sort of break through that, what do they call it now? The National Conference, or what was the Conference Premier, into League 2, you really have to start looking very seriously at loans and maxing out the number of loanees you're going to get into your team in a season, because as you said, you're really going to get to keep the promotion momentum up. You're going to need a higher caliber of player. Yeah. And your financial situation isn't going to let you sustain that higher caliber of player. And I will admit that there's definitely at some point, if you take a team like that and sort of carry all the way up, when you get to the championship level, at some point there is a gamble that says, you're going to you're going to kind of put the club sort of financially out there. But if you do cross the threshold into the Premier League, one season in the Premier League cures a lot of ills. What I found with Truro was I got in and I was, I don't know, 7 or 8 million in debt. The club decided to redo the whole stadium, where they spent $30 million in the first season in the Premier League, and I came out 95 in the black.
Wow.
With extra with the 135 million with the new TV contract, plus extra TV money for FA Cups, for just regular league matches against big sides. I ended up 92 or 93 million in the black on it. So you can cure a lot of ills in that last jump. That developing your way through it can be very difficult. Not to say that it's impossible or not promising or not, that there's not something there. But you can cure all kinds of ills with that last jump.
I just think This one thing I worry about is the fact that I did the 26 seasons with FC United Manchester, and I could have continued it. It was still ongoing. The save's actually gone now. I had an issue with my laptop, and the save file was on my laptop because I stopped playing on my PC.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an issue with my laptop, and I've lost all FM16 stuff, including all the graphics, the lot. So that save file's actually gone. I've got a file from like a year before that's still on my PC, but I'm not going to boot that up. But yeah, my worry is I don't have the same longevity with this Darlington one in terms of the board was so forgiving in terms of the fact that, as you know, I think I had maybe 5 or 6 relegations in my time. A couple from bouncing in between the championship. Actually, it wouldn't be 6. It would have been 3, I think.
I know you
3
bounced between League
relegations.
One and the Championship a couple of times.
Yeah. So, I mean, in previous games, you probably would have lost your job for that, but they did actually fix it. And what I mean by that is the fact that I had the lowest wage budget in the division. We spent the least amount of money in the division, and the board expected us to go down. So when we did go down, they didn't sack me. They let me come back. And one season after I went down, I then finished mid-table in League One, and the board still stuck by me, which was just so nice because it made me get affection for the club, and I really do hope it can kind of emulate that kind of long-termness with this save. I really want this save to run from the 4th of November 2016 to the 4th of November 2017, like a full year of FM. So hopefully people enjoy it. But I wanted to ask you, Colin, since FM17, what have you seen around the community? Has anything stood out to you?
There's some early blogging, some early YouTube content that's out there. So Grizz Gamer, that's our friend, the rebranded Dare FM. He's got some stuff going on that I have been watching. I've mostly been Yam Yam FM is as a blogger that I follow. Nice guy, does some good stuff. So if you haven't checked him out, I do highly recommend on that. And I'm just starting to re-jump out and look at everything in the world at the moment. But those are the ones I'm watching, and of course yours, The Northman. With that, well, hey,
You have to say it.
Sure. Otherwise, it gets weird forever. It gets weird and uncomfortable for both of us.
Definitely.
On that, but no, those are the ones that I've basically been following. So, how about yourself?
Well, in terms of blogging, the main one is VR Fussball on Twitter, at VR Fussball. I can't actually pronounce his full website address. I don't know if you can. It's
Volksrepublik Fußball.
That's the one. Check him out. He's doing a save with Barnsley, and it's definitely going to be something I'm really going to enjoy because, one, it's not your run-of-the-mill team to manage. 2, I do enjoy reading stuff. I think since I left England, I really enjoy reading stuff from people doing saves in England and stuff. So really looking forward to that. There's a couple of posts out. He's got the August one ready to rock and roll. So that's definitely one you've got to check out. In terms of YouTube, I'm really enjoying Region Rovers by Golden FM. I do hope he sticks out. There isn't a possible issue there, and if there is, he's explained he will be starting it again. And Dr. Benji, as always, he did his Leicester on beta. That's good save, good series to check out.
Oh, and Rich on Twitch is another one.
Yes,
just so while you're running names, it popped into my head. Rich on Twitch was another one.
Yeah, doing the Nottingham Forest series as well. So definitely one to check out. I am still, fingers crossed, quite often. Most days I wake up and do a quick prayer to the gods and everything, hoping that second yellow card's gonna randomly pop in my inbox one day with a new video. We can dream. We can dream on that one, I think.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of people releasing content at the minute, and it's exciting, but I think it's like whenever a new cycle comes on, Colin, you see all the people come out of the woodwork who kind of slowed down in terms of content, and they've just come bouncing back.
Yeah, well, last year being the first year I really cranked a lot of content out. I can totally understand that by the time you get to the summer, it's much easier at this point in the fall and the winter because it's cold and there's not much going on. Now that I live in a colder more northerly place, I can totally understand that when it's cold and snowy out, there's few things better to do than just suck it up and play and record a little FM on that. And it gets a little tougher when you get into the spring and the summer, especially as more stuff goes on. But it is nice to see folks back out. The last one, too, that I wanted to also ping off the top that popped into my head after you were mentioning some of yours was One True Nerd
yes,
on YouTube.
Recreation.
Yes, a little something different in there. Again, I like those kind of things, going into slightly different places in the world and picking some different clubs. So that has a lot of appeal. So do check him out as well.
I've got to say there's a lot of people I'm watching at the minute, so I guarantee I have missed people out.
Good news is we'll be back next week with more. I think the good thing is we'll be back next week. We'll have more. We'll try and highlight as many second user interaction here for our listeners. If you have people that you watch that you like that you'd like to pass along to us, I know Paul as much as myself are always into some good FM content. So if you pass them along, we will certainly check them out and give them the plug on the show.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I watch more YouTube and read more blogs than I watch TV now. So YouTube's my new TV and blogs are my newspapers. So yeah, love it. So I think you can sign us out, Colin.
So thank you guys for listening to episode 1. We will see you next week with episode 2. Do remember to hit us up at Virtual Boot Room on Twitter. Again, if you've got content, people you want us to check out, do hit us up there. We will be glad to get back to you and check out what you got because, as Paul said, we love watching on YouTube and reading blogs. So, and if you have streamers, I don't want to ignore those guys too. If you've got a good streamer that you want to kick out, do let us know. And until next week, we will see you guys on the pitch.